Well, I have to say, and I want to be clear about this, if the Paul resolution passes, which I don't think it will, it's so extreme, people in 38 states, 248 million people, will be adversely impacted with filthy, dirty air. And I would ask unanimous consent to place into the record the list of the 38 states, Mr. President, and the impact on the people there.
Without objection.
In the senator's own state of Kentucky, the prediction is, based on the science, that between 530 people and 1,400 people will succumb to premature death. So we're not talking about some political argument. We're talking about the very life and death of the people we represent. I want to thank Senators Durbin, Whitehouse, Lautenberg, Shaheen, and Ayotte for already speaking out on the floor against the Paul Amendment. But I hope today we'll have a big vote, because we are dealing with the health of the people, with the health of the children, with the ability of people to work, because if you can't breathe, you can't work, Mr. President. And we are dealing with jobs, many, many, many jobs, over 1 million jobs that are created as a result of clean technology. Now, Senator Paul insulted the people of America. There was a poll just taken last month. 67% of voters support the cross-air state air pollution rule. That's 85% of Democrats, 68% of independents, and 48% of Republicans. Are they extremists? No. They're mainstream. Are the groups who support this rule extremist? And I think the senator owes an apology to the American Lung Association for making it sound like they are for air pollution rules because they're getting some kind of payoff. It's an outrage, a complete outrage. Does he think the National Association of County and Health Officials are extremists? Does he think he said the American Lung Association, he'd already attacked them. How about the American Nurses Association? Does he think they're extremists? Does he think President Richard Nixon was an extremist when he signed the Clean Air Act and he said, clean air, clean water, open spaces, these should once again be the birthright of every American? Richard Nixon. Does he think Richard Nixon was an extremist? Now, look, let's talk about what he wants to do. He wants to repeal a very important rule that's going to clean up the air, that's going to reduce toxic soot, toxic poison soot, and smog-forming air pollution that impacts air quality for over 240 million people. Now, let me say this. Mr. President, I know all of us, every one of us, 100 of us in this chamber, would condemn it if somebody took all their garbage and put it on the lawn of the next-door neighbor. That's what this cross-air pollution rule is about. It's about states that don't crack down on pollution. They have smokestacks that blow over the pollution into other states, and they say, isn't it wonderful? We don't really have any problem here. It's your problem. When I made this analogy, Senator Carper corrected me. He said, well, you're right. It's a good analogy as far as it goes, but garbage isn't usually poison. So I'll amend my analogy to say this. If we knew someone had garbage that included poison, and they took that garbage that included poison and put it on someone else's front lawn, that would be a terrible thing to do, and it would be the moral responsibility of that party to clean it up and not do it again. And that's what this rule is about. Now, I want to talk about specifics rather than be vague. This rule that Senator Paul seeks to cancel out, repeal, prevents up to 34,000 cases of premature death, 19,000 emergency room and hospital visits, 400,000 cases of aggravated asthma attacks, and 1.8 million lost work and school days, it is estimated to provide up to $280 billion in annual benefits by 2014. So all this flailing around of arms and calling people extremists simply cannot erase the facts that what Senator Paul is doing is extreme, is hurtful to our people. How many people feel good when they look at a child like this, who is desperately seeking air? Desperately seeking air. Here's the exhaler, here's the inhaler. Exhale from these dirty plants and inhale clean air. And it reminds me of a story I just read in the New York Times that talks about China. And China, where at the end of the day, what happens there is...
Senator, it's used 5 minutes.
I would ask for 1 minute, and then I will yield 8 to Senator Reid. In China, the leaders there are arrogant, and they are elitists, and they surround themselves with air purifiers in their offices, in their homes, in the Great Hall of the People, where they work, which is opulent. But the rest of the people in China have to breathe filthy, dirty air. And on a recent trip there, I did not see the sun. Our group did not see the sun for 7 days. Chinese leaders are largely insulated from Beijing's famous foul air. That's a story in the Times. The privileges of China's elites include purified air. Well, I don't think anybody ought to be able to insulate themselves from the quality of the air. We have to clean up the air for everybody, not just an elite few. So I think that Senator Paul, that his CRA, his resolution under the CRA, should be soundly defeated. And at this time, I would yield 8 minutes to Senator Jack Reed.